Well, I'm January. This is James. And Jack. We knew we wanted a natural birth. I just am kind of a hippie like that and knew that I wanted to go as naturally as possible. So we looked into hypnobirthing right away because I had several friends that had done the whole process and loved and enjoyed what they went through. So we started by just a Google search of hypnobirthing online and found the Birth Education Center and immediately signed up for a class. We were a little bit early.
Yeah.
So we took it, I think,
started
early.
business as well at the same time, so it was a little bit like, oh, we gotta go to class tonight. But it was awesome.
So we did it in the second trimester, but that gave us ample time to really do any other research online. So we knew we wanted a doula to help us as well, and we enlisted our teacher from the hypnobirthing class, who was Debbie, and it was awesome to have her support. She started right away once we signed up with her on getting us ready for what else we would need to prepare for labor and birth. Yeah, so we were about 2 weeks before the 40-week mark, so about 38 weeks, and came into our shop, and I thought, oh, that's a lot of liquid, and it was my water that had broken.
I keep peeing my pants. She kept thinking.
So it wasn't totally clear, it wasn't a movie style water break, but it was something that was definitely different, and we called the midwives and they said, yeah, casually just come in and let's make sure that that's what it really is and that you haven't peed your pants.
Yeah.
So
if you give us a casual minute, we definitely took our time and made dinner and
So we took several hours and drove up to the birth center at UCSD at about 7 p.m. It was a lovely sunset.
Nice drive.
We were very relaxed and thinking that not really much was going to maybe happen because we were early, and sure enough it was my water that had broken, but I had no contractions and no active labor that had started at that point. So being that I was GBS positive and had gestational diabetes, we knew that they were going to put a time clock on us. So when we got admitted at about 10 p.m., they said you have till 2 a.m., which was a 12-hour clock.
Retroactively, went back to when
from when my water had broken, and said that you would have to start labor naturally by then, or else they would induce, which was our not desired scenario.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have to. You can decline anything, but they would have taken us out of birth.
Yes. So we really wanted to remain in the natural section in the birth center. So we started using some of the tools from the hypnobirthing class, which was put my headphones on, put my eye mask on, drink a shit ton of raspberry tea, and I swear, and just started doing ball rolling and going into my labor land zone.
Deep, cosmic something. I was like, where's Jan?
And if that wasn't enough, I also downed a bottle of castor oil that the nurses brought in, and that certainly worked. So at about
things along.
1 a.m. we had an hour left, and our doula was there, and she had helped us as well with the meditation and relaxing, and labor came on with a vengeance. So at that point, we fastened our seatbelts and went on a ride of contractions about a minute long with not much longer between
30
them.
seconds between sometimes, yeah.
We still don't entirely know what that was, if it was just the castor oil or just the way it was going to go, or if he was maybe just a little turned.
I mentioned a little sunny side up, and I guess sometimes that could be the case, is the body's trying to right him quickly. So it was more intense than I had imagined, but also manageable once I knew that it was normal, and that was something that hypnobirthing and our doula had kept me focused on, that this was all still a normal process and going the way it was supposed to. And I really wanted to get in that water tub, and at about 4 a.m., 3 hours into this wild ride, we said, okay, no one had approved me for the tub because it was a busy night in the birth center, but they said, go for it, get in anyway. Well,
so
we just turned it on and we're like, we'll give you some water time because there's no midwives around here.
So I got in the water, the midwives immediately showed up, checked me and said, she's done, she's ready to push, transition time. And I went, oh, I gotta get out of the water.
Yeah.
So hopped out of the water back onto the birth ball, the birth stool, and spent another 3.5 to 4 hours pushing, which was really crazy intense. But I guess what we needed to make it happen, and at 7:32 a.m., a little man made his appearance into the world. And those last couple hours, while crazy and insane, the tools and the experience that we had gotten from the class about being in a zone and being able to communicate through that, and breath work and the teamwork that you gave me by holding my entire body through each contraction was just awesome and incredible. And the sun was coming up, and it was just this very...
The doula was incredible, like instrumental in being there and being able to tell us, like I was on her. You know, I was focusing on you, and Debbie was able to just kind of lead the charge in a way, which was awesome.
Yeah, and so it was beautiful. It was intense and crazy and insane and wonderful, and I'm so excited that we got to go through that the way that we had wanted to, naturally and beautifully.
It was a little intense. He came out kind of limp and blue, and they had to shake him and rub him vigorously. He wasn't very, his tone was, I guess, a little
And that was due to possibly some hand against the umbilical cord or some pressure on the way out that was a little bit different than normal. So there was a lot of...
kind of like you could see people's faces, you know, you're just experiencing this, the most amazing thing you've ever experienced in your life, and then you're kind of like tuned into other stuff going on. So
but everyone was a little nervous.
Yeah, so they had to, you know, milk the cord and kind of cut it, and I was objecting, like, no, we need delayed cutting. And the midwife was like, can't. And so then he had to be kind of revived and checked by the NICU people. So we got a little bit of a delay in getting him on our chest, but
it was only a couple minutes, and we did still have him on us for the first hour and a half or so before he had to leave us and get everything monitored. And one thing that I found really cool is the pictures. I didn't think I had wanted photography of the birth, but everything got so nerve-wracking here in those next minutes that I didn't remember a lot of it, and I went into a little bit of fight or flight mode with that. So when we got our pictures from our doula, I could see the timestamp, and it was a big process of me healing to see that he had only been out of my hands for a couple of minutes and then immediately back on skin to skin for almost an hour and a half, which didn't seem like much time in my memory, but through those pictures we knew that he was there and everything was fine for that hour and a half. And then even when he was taken away, we got to go to the NICU and be with him skin on skin there for a while, and he's fine. He was fine within 24 hours, and so that was pretty cool.
yeah, pretty cool. He tried to latch on me first.
Oh yeah, we do have a picture of that too. I was having a couple stitches put in, and so Dad got to hold and try to breastfeed.
Yeah. We were able to connect because it was intense. I was holding her whole weight and just talking her through it, and Debbie was able to talk to me and then talk to the nurses and the midwives, and was able to kind of be a liaison where I tend to want to be that too, but I had to go with her. It was just awesome, and she was able to talk to Janet about things maybe that being her husband she didn't want to hear, or just she could get in there in ways that I couldn't. You know, and she could kind of direct things to her, and being through birth, you know what she's going through and know her signals and cues, and it was pretty awesome to have another teammate there that helped us, because we would have been scared and on our own and probably wrapped up in the whirlwind of birth, and it was awesome. You know, I mean, she lit candles. It was really cool. She was instrumental in having the birth that we had.
I mean, just absolutely essential to me, because yes, I needed you there, but I needed a person who had been through all of this before. And I think my number one question continuously, actually all the way through parenthood still, is this normal? And so having Debbie to be there and let me know that every sensation and every stage was normal, and that what I was going through was correct. And then also just we were within the hospital in the birth center, and so there's a lot of things that are procedural still that can come up. And I think it was great to be able to turn to her and say, is this something I really want to do? Do I really need Pitocin after the labor? And she was just really important for those decisions as well, to know whether we wanted interventions or not.
And gave us the ability to kind of speak our mind or convey what we really wanted, because I think sometimes if you're on your own and you have people in medical talking at you, sometimes it feels a little bit overwhelming, and Debbie was able to be kind of like, think about this, guys, or, you know, and it was pretty cool to have someone there.
I think my most intimate and favorite moment during the birth was just during the pushing when I got onto the birth stool, which was something I didn't think I was going to want to use, and just instinctually needed support from up here. So James sat behind me on the bed and I was on the birth stool, and I needed every ounce of my strength and your strength through each contraction to hold, and I for some reason took your hand and put it on my forehead and needed it there. And so each surge was just us in complete muscular contraction together and assistance of each other. And then in between I would come out and you would just whisper and tell me to breathe and stroke my head, and it was like really beautiful. As powerful and intense and crazy as it was so beautiful for us to be in that together.
Can I say the same thing?
It really was, though. It was just connecting with her and just not even really needing to speak sometimes and having to, but being a part of her and feeling her and kind of riding that wave, knowing that, you know, I wasn't going through half of what she was going through, but it was still like we were a team birthing him together, and it was pretty special. It was awesome. Relax.
Yeah, although I still can't do that myself. I think doing your research is super important, and knowing a direction that you'd like to go and then really following through with as many tools and resources as you can to get you to there, but being flexible in that, because we had a beautiful natural birth and then some hiccups afterwards, but all of that required flexibility and preparation. So both preparing but then also going with the flow through your labor and birth, I think is key. Like having a plan, but more of an idea of that.
Fluid, you know?
Yeah, allowing there to be fluidity, and then just relaxing, which I'm still taking on myself. Breathing.
Relax is the big thing. I think you get caught up in, is this normal? What's going on? You know, and it's awesome and scary and fun and the most cool thing I've ever done. So that's probably what I would say is it's gonna be okay, you know. Just be there, support, do the reading with mom and kind of take the classes and be a part of it so you guys can put it together a plan and to be just a good support system. Yeah, so she's going through a monumental task and you just need to be there to support and love her and tell her it's gonna be okay, but also know what's going on yourself. I think it was good because then there was not a ton of surprises in the middle. You know, I was educated, but the best thing is just to be there and support her. Breathing was a big one because that's your whole center and focus and nervous system and everything, and I think if you can get that dialed and you can know that you're going to be okay and you can control that with your breath. Breath was a major part of her birth, and the light touch. I was doing that the whole time between contractions. During, don't touch me! But between, it was her thing that she really loved, so that was.
The number one thing I would say postpartum, and my best advice for those first few days, is to just reach out for help as you need it. We thought that we were going to be able to get through the first couple days and weeks on our own and just kind of see how things went, and after the first night when we got no sleep and we felt completely freaked out, I just woke up at 4:30 in the morning and said, when you guys get up, all 5 of you that I'm sending this to, we need help. Come over anytime today. We have a million questions. I need you to hold him while I just take 1 minute on my back by myself, and we need some help in figuring this out. And everybody showed up to help, and it was really essential and instrumental in us getting through the next month on our own to just have support like that. So don't be afraid to ask and tell people specifically what you need for that help, and I think that will make all the difference.